Hi, everybody. James Escarcega, along with our fearless leader himself who made the trip last week to Sierra Vista, Mr. Fred Robledo. They love you over there, Freddie.
Well, I think they love what they're doing over at Sierra Vista. That was a great environment for a football game. And look, two of their big guys, like they said, they're not eligible yet, but this team is 2-0, a team that was 1-19 the two previous years. I was just telling James before we started this, they beat Bowling Park, and that game's in 2 weeks, and they got everybody healthy. They have a chance to go 10-0, which is, you got to give them credit at some point.
No question about it. But at the same time,
But we got to come back to that because there is a major week ahead of us. Probably the biggest week of the season in terms of big-time matchups because they're all over the place, James. Between the Whittier Daily News, the Star News, and the Tribune, you've got major big-time matchups.
I call it Super Friday. It's more like sensory overload Friday because by the time we're done on Friday, and I want to say this, and I know Tariq Fatal, our colleague over on the other side of the valley, wrote a column on Sunday saying that maybe these matchups aren't enticing or whatever. At least on our end, this is kudos to the coaches. I mean, some of these guys could have gone 5-0, Freddie. Just played
scheduling easy games. Well, they scheduled them up.
Yeah,
I was looking at in our area. We'll go over some of these.
Yeah.
4 games of some of our biggest teams. If you can get one win out of there, that would be special. I'm not sure. It's going to be really hard. I'm talking about La Habra's at home against Mission Viejo. Mm-hmm. Bishop Amont's on the road at J. Sarah. You've got Narbonne at St. Paul. You've got Grace Brethren, the new Giant, at Muir. Those are 4 super teams that our local teams are playing. I don't know where you find a win in there. It's going to be tough.
I've got a best bet for you, but we're going to get to that
And you got
game.
other good games like you're talking about. Glendora and Charter Oak. You've got
Cup.
Damien against St. Francis.
And
Lucerna and Arcadia. I mean, Los Altos against Monrovia. Two more 2-0 teams. I mean, it's all over the place.
So we're going to touch upon all these games real quickly here, Freddie, because there's so many of them. Obviously, the major game of the night is Mission Viejo at La Habra.
I don't know if there's an obvious major game of the night, but that's a biggie.
It's pretty big, Freddie. And Mission Viejo, I believe, was ranked either 4th or 5th by Cal High Sports in their top 20 in the state. So it kind of tells you how big they are. But at the same time, Freddie, wow, 63 points for La Habra last week against Redlands East Valley.
Yeah, well, Redlands East Valley, I think to be fair, is down. They're 0-2, and they've been beaten up pretty good their first 2 weeks.
Yep.
It's not the team that we remember 4 or 5 years ago. Upland was a more impressive week, the first week of the season.
I agree.
But here you go with La Habra, and we've been talking about the weapons they have all year, and this maybe being one of Coach Frank Mazzotta's best teams. But this is the test of all tests. Because they're a Division III team, James, that you and I both think could win a Division III championship.
I do.
They do not have a chance to be in that Elite 8 of Division I. Not that we would want to see them even try that because those teams at the top are just too ridiculous.
Correct.
But the Mission Viejo, if they can beat a Mission Viejo or hang with them and be close, that would tell you all you need to know about La Habra football. I mean, we already know a lot. But this is the step-up game of all step-up games because Mission Viejo, as you know, they beat Bishop Amont in the first round last year.
Correct.
They're on the cusp. When you think of the top 3 teams in Division I, Mater Dei, St. John Bosco, and Corona Centennial, they're on the cusp of that number 4 being considered there. So major game for La Habra on Friday. And, I had a vote on a poll of those 4 games that we mentioned, James, and people seem to think La Habra may have the best chance of those 4 to get a win here. I mean, I don't know. It's a major step-up game, and for a Division III team, makes them the instant favorites if they're within a touchdown or win that game.
Yeah, I kind of like the Highlanders. I like them at home. They're playing well. There's just something about this team, Fredo, and I mentioned to you over the summer, just something about this team I really like. So I'm kind of taking them here. It will be a close game, so to speak.
Yeah.
So big game on Friday night over at La Habra. So you just go down the road a little bit, Freddie, and you end up over at St. Paul High School to another team that's taking on a top 10 or top 15 ranked team in the state, and that's St. Paul. They're taking on Narbonne. What do we take with St. Paul after the first 2 wins?
Well, I think that you take that they've ran over their 2 opponents.
Right.
And that this is their first major test. Now, look, I saw Eric Sonheimer when he was talking about Narbonne saying, the gap between Narbonne and everyone else is sort of like the gap between the big 3. We just mentioned Mater Dei, Corona Centennial, Bosco, and the rest of them.
Yeah.
So they're the big-time city section school. They're the ones who, in an open division, would have a chance to even, sneak into that thing when you talk about the state playoffs down the line. So, again, We talk about La Habra stepping up in class. This is the same thing it is for St. Paul. I mean, St. Paul is a Division 5 team taking on the best team in the city section, Narbonne. I don't know. They've looked so good through 2 games. I think this is the one that tells you, they'll probably lose, but it's going to tell you where they are as a football team. In terms of big picture, when we talk about them down the line, what they look like, I think we'll have a better idea. The first 2 games were just blowouts. They were, this game this past Friday wasn't a blowout that you expected because that was a decent opponent.
And Danny?
A blowout nevertheless, but we'll know a lot more when they play Narbonne. Super game, and you're going to be there for that one.
I will be. And remember, the team that Narbonne lost to last week were the state champions from Utah. They lost last Saturday in the showcase to then over at Moore Park High School. Interesting game, so to speak. Then we kind of circulate over. You got to go over the hill now.
Yeah.
Got to go over the hill. We got to go to Charter Oak High School, where I believe you're going to be at on Friday night for the Mayor's Cup between Glendora and Charter Oak. And I don't know, Freddie, man, can we get that Glendora St. Paul final in Division 5?
Well, there's such a long way to go, and we like to try to forecast down the line where playoffs are going. But
it is fun
they've certainly looked like 2 of the top, if not the 2 best teams in Division 5 so far. I mean, I thought Glendora was going to have more of a competitive game than it did against Eastvale Roosevelt. They ran them out of town. Stunning. I mean, Xavier Ford rushed for over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, and they're the real deal. And they've got the coaching staff, and look, they're going to go to Charter Oak this week. This is going to be a tall order for Charter Oak. Charter Oak has won their first 2 games, but they really were fortunate to get past Don Lugo this past week.
Oh, and I'm sorry, they play Colony.
Colony, I'm sorry. They're fortunate to get past. That was South Hills.
Yes.
Fortunate. But, yeah, they got by Colony this week. And, it's going to be a tough game for them. Kudos to Glendora. They are going to have some orange on their jerseys, kind of in support of Big Lou, who's still battling his cancer fight. He's still at the City of Hope, hoping to get well sometime so he can make that trek to a game. Still probably won't be this week. But yeah, that's always a great game, James. I'm expecting it's going to be packed there. I think this for Charter Oak, you find out, that Hacienda League is going to be so good with Diamond Ranch and Los Altos and South Hills. I think we kind of find out where Charter Oak is going to stack up in that mix against an opponent like Glendora.
Sounds like you're taking Glendora here.
Yeah, I'm taking Glendora.
It should be a competitive game, though. This is the Mayor's Cup game, so emotions are a factor here.
I do think that Glendora this year has a little bit too much talent, has a little bit too much going for them. The coaching staff obviously knows, Dom and those guys from back then.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go with Glendora in that game.
The other game that we're going to be covering in our print editions of the paper on Saturday will be Monrovia Los Altos. A couple of teams off to a fast start, Freddie. Los Altos winning there. You mentioned last week this might be the last time they'll be playing Wilson for a while.
Yeah, I've had a few people tell me, and look, I kind of understand. I know that game for the wheel has been going on for 50 years, but it has become a lopsided game over the last decade that I can remember, where Los Altos has been blowing them out, and for competitive equity reasons, they may be asking to step out Wilson for a while until their program is ready for that game.
Gotcha.
I understand that it happens, but hey, look, Los Altos and Monrovia, both of them are 2-0 right now. Los Altos, that first week against Covina, they ran them out the field. They obviously ran Wilson off the field. And I think Monrovia has been kind of one of the surprise teams for me, being 2-0, because they've struggled in non-league games in the past years before they get into the Rio Hondo League. So major test for both teams to see where they're at. That's why I have that game covered. Richard Hernandez is going to be there.
That's great.
Really good game on the Pass, Tribune, Crosstown.
So you're taking Los Altos?
I got Los Altos.
I'm going to take Monrovia.
Yeah, I like Los Altos.
Yeah, it's going to be a close game.
Hacienda over Rio Hondo League every day of the week, but I think it'll be a good game.
Ooh, okay. So those are the 4 games those are the kind of like the four games you'll probably hopefully we'll see on print for sure. We don't know about the St. Paul game. We're going to kind of just see how that goes on Friday night. The rest of the games we're going to talk about quickly, you're going to see online only. You got to make sure you're on the website and you're keeping up your subscriptions. Sounds like things are going well with the subscription part of things. And we're going to start, Freddie. We're going to work our way south and then come up north. How's that? So we'll start.
So ain't nothing farther south than Bishop Lamont going to J. Sarah, right?
Please go.
And that's a big one. J. Sarah's coming off a loss. They play. escapes me who they played. They played an out-of-state team, one of these juggernauts out of state, and lost.
You talk, and I'm listening.
They're going to come home, and they're going to be hungry. Jay Sarah's been one of the top 5 ranked teams in Division I preseason and through the first week. Obviously, who was it, James? You'll get to it.
I'm going to get to it in
First
a minute.
major test for Bishop Amat. Amat has been, through the first 2 weeks, they beat Diamond Ranch. They beat Paramount. Sort of 2 survive and advance games. They beat Paramount in overtime. And give Bishop Amat a lot of credit in that game because Damien Moore came up. He was injured in the second quarter. And here comes Dyson McCutcheon, the junior, the son of Dalen McCutcheon, who we know is a Hall of Famer at Bishop Amat, played for USC and in the NFL.
Right on.
And Dyson, he comes in, rushes for almost 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, scores all 4 of their touchdowns, I want to say, in that game.
Yeah.
It really shows that Bishop Amat, when they have to go to that well and they have to dig deep, they have another guy. Now, from what I understand, Damien Moore, he probably could have played if they needed to. It was a precautionary thing.
Nothing wrong with that.
That came out. Coach Haggerty, I texted him. He said he's day-to-day. I expect that he'll be ready for this game this week.
Okay.
So they have 2 guys that they can really mix it up with. But yeah, this is the first major test for Bishop Amat. If you want to argue that they're going to be in the Division I playoffs at the end, make that Elite 8, this is a game where if they beat them, they have a really good argument. Even if they lose this game and win the rest of their games, James, they may have an argument because that would mean they went undefeated in the division. But I think the first major challenge when you're making that argument to the guys through the committee who's going to make these decisions, this is it. It's your trip to Orange County, and Jay Sarah's as good as it gets outside those top 3 teams.
I want to say Jay Sarah was either ranked 5th or 6th in the state by Cal High Sports.
Yeah.
And the team that they lost to last week was St. Joseph's High School in New Jersey.
Yeah, there you
who
go.
They are probably the number 2 team behind Don Bosco Prep out in New Jersey. It's big-time parochial football out there. So that's Friday night. We got to stay down south real fast too, Freddie, because we have another team going down.
I'm taking Jay Sarah in that game.
So
I'm not,
am I.
I'm being realistic.
Yes, and there's only a few miles we get to travel here, Freddie, as we make our way up north. South Hills is going to San Juan Hills. Last year, Freddie, South Hills won and that was our telltale sign they were for real.
That was the step-up game last year that kind of pushed them forward. There was some questions going into that. And I think you're at that same stage this year with South Hills. They had the big win in week 1, but they went to Don Lugo this past week. Now we're getting back to them. Went to Don Lugo. Won, I think it was 28-27.
35-34.
35-34.
Yeah.
They missed an extra point late. Don Lugo did that, would have tied the game and allowed South Hills to escape. Now, look, I don't know how good Don Lugo is going to be this year, but I remember I was at that game when Northview made that trip last year. That game was over in the first quarter.
Right.
So I thought that South Hills would be able to handle Don Lugo. Maybe Don Lugo's a lot better than they were last year. That we'll find out over the course of a season. Okay. But again, big game on the road in deep Orange County for South Hills. Another one of these Hacienda League teams. Find out where they are. It's another early season test.
Sounds like you're taking San Juan Hills.
I'm taking San Juan Hills.
I will too as well. Got to go a few miles up north, but still in the same vicinity, where our man Mike Machete and his mighty Matadors of La Mirada taking on St. Margaret's first test of the year, Freddie.
Yeah, and I went to St. Margaret's last year to watch a championship soccer championship.
I think it was Sierra Vista.
What a cool little school, intimate little city, and I think La Mirada and their fans. This is a road trip you're going to want to make because that's a nice place to watch a football game. It's slow, it's intimate. You're on top of the field.
Oh, fantastic.
And for La Mirada, how impressive have they been over the first 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Again, we talked about it last week, what a coach means. Machete's done an absolute, great job. We're gonna find out week to week if this is real, what they're really capable of. They're going to have a game of South Hills in a couple weeks that I've kind of circled on my calendar. I'd love to see these 2 teams get past these tests this week and kind of maybe be undefeated going into that game. But I don't know. St. Margaret's is a pretty good football team. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with La Mirada.
So am I.
I'm going to buy.
You're going with the fighting machetes here.
Yeah, I'm going to buy here. They've looked so good through the first 2 weeks that I don't think they're ready to lose now. I think that momentum is going to continue.
Okay. So we're both taking La Mirada here. So now we got to navigate kind of up north. We got to take maybe a little stop over on the 57 to the 71, and we're going to stop over at Damien now, where the emotions will be running high on Friday as St. Francis takes on Damien. We just found out on Monday that the school announced that one of their great coaches, Dick Larson, passed away, Freddie. So emotions will be kind of high on Friday. They'll be playing at Dick Larson Field.
Yeah.
Emotions aside, Freddie, these are two teams. I was kind of thinking about this last night that look just similar to each other.
Yeah, I think Damien, they got a good win last week coming back, going to beat Claremont after the
they
first
found the
round
quarterback.
with Glendora. Yeah, a freshman that they started.
Dylan Gutierrez,
right? Yeah. And St. Francis,
they found the quarterback too.
But I thought they looked a little shaky.
Okay.
I thought that sounded a little shaky in first one. But look, we talk about Dick Larson. I mean, you think of Damien football. I was talking to Coach Matt Bechtel this morning, who played for Coach Larson in the early 90s, was actually a quarterback for him in 91 when they went to the semifinals. And it was because of Dick Larson. He's the one who put the three stripes on the helmet.
Correct.
Something that Coach Bechtel brought back this year. And he talked about, a guy who, he was that hard-nosed coach back in the day that you remember. When you think of 60s and 70s football coaching and tough, hard-nosed coaches, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, that was Dick Larson. And I was looking on the Facebook page, and the tributes were obviously... they were great, and that's going to be an emotional game because you've got Coach Bechtel who played for him, who remembers him well. I'm sure it's going to be a game on Friday where they pay tributes to their coach, and tough spot really for St. Francis to walk in there under that emotion.
But the one thing I will tell you, St. Francis has, which is going to be an advantage, they have speed.
Yeah.
Speed is a major commodity in football. And when you have someone like Kevin Armstead and Max Garrison, along with Jack Flaherty, who threw for almost 290 yards on Friday night. I'm sorry, Freddie, I'm taking regional bias here. I'm taking the Bonds' boys over.
I'm going with Damien. Going with Damien. I think that
it's going to be a close game, though.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good.
That'd be like a pick-em game if we have to make it spread.
Yeah,
right?
that was a tough decision to make this week. Which game? Glendora Charter Oak. Johnny Sherrard will be out there, and he loves these atmosphere games. He'll probably eat this one up.
No question. So now we got to navigate down the 210. We're going to make a quick stopover at San Marino, where El Monte is going to be taking on San Marino. One of our new guys, Isaac Coladeras, is going to be at the game for us. I think San Marino needs to find some offense for Freddie. Yeah. This is not good.
This was the game. El Monte came on the scene last year. That great running back with Devon Booth and Abel Cuevas, and they've been absolutely since they're averaging 70 points a game.
Isn't that incredible?
Through 2 games.
Isn't that incredible?
I mean, their running backs have each ran for, I want to say, over 300 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that the opponents haven't been that great, but it's absolutely as advertised. We thought that this could be a super year for El Monte, and it started that way. Now, this is where last year where El Monte came up short. They had a start not this great, but they had to play San Marino, and they got beat in a high-scoring game. I think you were at that game.
I was, Freddie.
It was a high-scoring game.
It was the night that Bo Hobby decided
to keep up with them. But this isn't your same San Marino team.
No, it's not.
This is a better El Monte team. Payback's coming Friday night, James. I like El Monte.
So do I. Last year they couldn't stop Bo Hobby. It just seemed like every time I was marking, he was scoring. So,
yeah.
But this is different. That gives him a different team.
This is a 10-0 El Monte team. And once they get past this game, I think they do have one more game against one of those teams in Orange County
Or they play Orange Vista, I think.
Orange Vista. They're going to have that game.
That's next week, right?
And Orange Vista had...
They got to come down here.
Yeah, Orange Vista wound up beating them in a rematch in the playoffs last year. And
correct.
Went on to the finals.
Correct.
Those are the 2 games, really, the only chance... Look, I don't think San Marino... I think this is a game Amani's going to win and win big. There's only one team, Orange Vista, who has a chance to stop them from going 10-0. And that's saying a lot when I'm already penciling wins over Arroyo and Rosemead and those guys. But I'm penciling them in. You hear that, Coach Jim Singheiser? Those games are done.
Ooh. We'll be talking to you on Twitter later on tonight, so to speak.
Done deal.
All right, so we got to go down the 210. We got to hit the 134 if you really want to. We got to before we get to the Rose Bowl. We got to get to Muir High School.
Mighty Mustangs.
And this is my upset special.
Upset? Are you crazy?
I'll let you talk first. But Grace Brethren, who comes off one of the, I think the biggest win in their school history. Freddie.
It is.
They beat Oaks Christian, and as I told someone, they didn't just beat them. They throttled them. That's my bad.
Yeah.
They throttled them on Friday night. It was quite impressive.
Yeah, it wasn't long ago. It was a little long ago, but not long ago. Grace Brethren was an 8-man football team.
They were.
And they've gone on and won, I think, Division 8, Division 4
They've made
CIF championships back-to-back. They're in Division 3 this year. They've seemingly turned into one of those private school juggernauts. This is something you see in basketball where it almost happens overnight. And beating Oaks Christian, a team in the Division 1-2 portal, James, the way that they did, I mean, absolutely incredible. I mean, Grace Brethren's they belong in that Division 1-2. They're that good. They're the team in Division 3, I think. You look at them and Habra as the two teams. They're going to be on opposite sides probably of those draws.
Yeah.
You could see them meeting in the championships.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at Mir, and you're calling upset. Look, this is nothing against the Mustangs.
Oh, here we go.
This is a Division 11 football team that beat a Division 11 football defending champion in their first week. They beat a very good, not great, very good Hart team on the road. Showed a lot of grit coming back down 13-0 at halftime, winning that game. But you've got to remember, James, Mir is still in Division 11. They're still climbing that ladder. Now, look, they've had some guys transfer into the program. They're showing a lot of juice right now. But this is Grace Brethren. This is a different animal altogether. And I think when you think of Mir, there are ceilings.
Okay.
And I think this is above their ceiling right now. This will be their toughest game all year, regardless of whether they go in the Pacific League, regardless of what they face in the playoffs. This is by far their biggest game of the year. And look, they have guys missing, like the transfer from Northview that's not there yet.
Jameer Johnson,
who he won't be there until midway through the season when he becomes eligible.
Yep.
I'm rooting for you, Yamir. I'd love to see this. I just can't call it.
I am. The only reason I'm calling it, Freddie, is because I'm fearing a letdown factor here with Grace Brethren. I just can't tell you how big that win was last week over Oaks Christian. They have been planning all summer, all spring for that game, and they played magnificently. I think them and Sierra Canyon are the two private schools in the San Fernando Valley that made this meteoric rise to Division 3, 1/2, whatever you want to call it. But I'm just got a funny feeling about the Mustangs, Freddie. I mean, it's my upset special of the night, and
I think we're division.
But even if they're competitive, Freddie, even if they're competitive, I think it's a win.
I saw a lot of people, they got upset when I said online that they really don't have a chance. I think when you talk about some of the big time athletes, certainly Mir stacks up with Grace Brethren. It's in the trenches where. Are they going to be able to slow them down? Are they going to be able to handle those big boys? That's where Mir doesn't really have right now. This is why you're in Division 11. You don't have that depth, and you don't have those guys. And right now, Grace Brethren is the new it team. They remind me of. I remember way back when Oaks Christian was that it team, and they had that great quarterback and
Jimmy Clausen.
And I went to a couple of those. Mir played them in back-to-back years and got blown out back-to-back years.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be a blowout. But I also, I'm not even sure it'll be a good game. I'd like to see Mir be within a couple touchdowns. We'll see if they can do that.
Strange things happen when you take that trip over on the other side of the mountains. You come to the valley, so to speak. We want to spend 45 seconds here, Freddie, just to talk about the Pacific League because it's interesting now. You have not only Mir, you've got Pasadena 2-0. They're probably going to be 3-0 by the time they win Friday night over Pioneer. You have Crescenta Valley. They look pretty good. Burroughs is pretty good.
Yeah.
Those are 4 teams right there. I'm still shocked, Freddie. I did not see this coming. Arcadia getting throttled by Valencia. It just changes the whole dynamic of the Pacific League.
Well, I think before we, throw Arcadia back into the ocean and say they're done, the rebuild starts.
Yeah.
We got to remember that Valencia is a super good football team.
Well, it ain't getting better this week because they're playing Lucerna.
Yeah, they're playing Lucerna, and they'll probably lose again this week.
Yeah.
Obviously, Arcadia is not what they were last year.
Nope.
That's pretty obvious. Whether when they get in the Pacific League, they're going to be able to handle some of these teams. That's what we're going to find out. But definitely, it was a shocker to see them get beat like that after watching them last year go to the championship. And you got to remember, Guerra, the quarterback, was a junior. He's transferred out. There's so many guys that they lost that maybe this is a complete rebuild. Yeah. But again, you're right. They play Lucerna this week, and that's going to be another game where I don't give them much of a chance.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Remember, even though it's a 16 league now. Top three, only 3 teams get the automatic qualifier to the playoffs, Freddie. And so someone's going to be left out here. And if Mir can get one of those 3 spots, Freddie, look out.
I like Mir this year because they're going to have all of their guys by the time the Pacific League gets down and dirty. But watch out for Pasadena. I'm sorry. When I was looking at the transfer portals, I didn't realize. I just took a quick peek at Pasadena.
19, but Freddie.
Oh my God.
19.
I thought I was looking at Modern Day's transfer portal when I saw all these guys.
We have a tie right now, Freddie, between them and LaSalle for supremacy in the transfer battle.
Yeah, they have a lot, and they're kind of that team that we didn't talk about a lot. I think they wanted to be under the radar. They're not under the radar anymore. Maybe they're playing for a Pacific League championship. I'm not going to count them out yet.
They still got to get through the Crescenta Valleys and the Burbanks and whatever, but if they can get through them, Halloween night will be so fascinating.
That's a Thursday night, too, right?
It is a Thursday night to finish off the season. You get that in the Pasadena area. Then the next day in the afternoon, you get Rio Hondo Prep and Pasadena
kids say that
Poly.
should be lit.
Woo! What a week. And we'll have all kinds of coverage. Freddie's working. We got the columns this week and all kind of stuff. We're going to have Friday night. And there's many other games. Aaron will do the capsules on them.
I'm going to do a top 5 things to watch. I'll post that Thursday. And it's really going to be really diving more into these big games that we talked about. Really who has... I kind of want to say out of these big games, I'm going to rank them kind of in order. Who has the best chance to win these games on Friday? Assuming that we're all underdogs in these big games.
Are you talking about? Is this a tease?
This is a tease.
Make sure you go online. Yeah. Perfect. And then of course Saturday we'll wrap it all up with the quarterback, and then you can go watch UCLA lose again, and hopefully SC will win again on Saturday. Sure. Yeah. Good luck against Oklahoma next week. Yeah. Hey, have a great week, everybody. You'll see Freddie at the Mayor's Cup game again, back at Charter Oak again.
Yeah.
Are you going to Capri Deli for dinner?
That's a pretty good choice right there, James. Now that you throw it out there, maybe I will do Capri Deli. But I always like a Charger dog. Some of those Charger dogs are all right.
Oh, very nice.
They start cooking them early there.
And then, of course, by the way, we have a couple games on Thursday. I'm going to go watch Whittier play San Dimas at Pioneer High School. We'll do a roundup of all the action on Thursday. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week. Thank you all very much.